So we're going to look at some types of chemical bonds. We've already looked at one, kind of a basic one. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail. Now throughout the next week, we'll be going into more detail in additional videos. Now the first thing I'd like for you to do is to take a look at these sodium and chlorine elements. I want you to get out your periodic table, and I want you to determine if sodium and chlorine are either metals or nonmetals or a combination. So go ahead and pause the video, get out your periodic table, find and locate where sodium is and where chlorine is. Well, hopefully you found those, and pause the video and realize that sodium is a metal on the far left, and the nonmetal is chlorine, which is on the far top right. When a metal and a nonmetal come together, the bond that forms is an ionic bond. Ionic bond. And remember, you're going to be watching that video here in a little bit on ions. Notice the coloring I did of that. That is just to be able to give you a good visual. Now, on number 2, you can't necessarily see which elements these are, but let's say they are sodium, and this is the nucleus of a sodium. And it is surrounded by the electrons on the outer edge. It's kind of neat about this kind of bond, and it actually is called a metallic bond. And that is because you will have two metals or the same metal that ends up being attracted to each other. And the reason metallic bonds can cause electricity, they're really good electricity conductors, is because these electrons are able to kind of float around and they're able to pass an electronic charge, which I think that's pretty cool. So when you have a metal to a metal, then it is called a metallic. The third one I want you to look at, I'd like for you to use your periodic table again and find hydrogen and oxygen and determine if hydrogen and oxygen are metals or nonmetals or a combination. So pause it. Pause the video and take a look, locate, and determine if you think hydrogen or oxygen is a metal or a nonmetal. Now I know hydrogen is on the far left, but remember hydrogen's that one oddball up there. It is the only non-metal that is located on the far left. And oxygen, if you remember where the metalloids are, those semiconductors, oxygen is to the far right, so it is a non-metal also. So you have two nonmetals. These two nonmetals, when they bond together, and this is the one that we looked at a little bit earlier with oxygen and hydrogen forming a water molecule, it's called a covalent bond. This is called a covalent. So the definitions that I'd like for you to write, and these are just kind of quick summaries: ionic, metal bonds to a nonmetal; metallic, metal bonds to metal; covalent, nonmetal to a nonmetal. So go ahead and jot those down on your notes.